The Chatshow.
Aw. Well, listen, thank you so much for like wanting to come and do this and like let me interview you. Obviously, like I've known you for a little while now. So I guess like I'm just gonna explain it for like people that obviously don't know who you are. Verity and I met probably about 4 years ago, mutual love of CrossFit. I coached Verity and then found out you were in the process of designing and starting Barbells.
Yeah.
So I guess like I've kind of been in and out of like where you've gone with it, and I saw recently that you just had like a whole new rebrand
Yeah.
on the socials. So I kind of like, I wanted to do this whole like inspirational women kind of series, interview a bunch of ladies that have like, entrepreneur or like entrepreneurs. I said entrepreneur and I mixed the words together.
I like it. New
Women
word.
that done like loads of stuff and like in whole different arrays and spectrums of the world. And obviously for Barbell as a new company, I just thought what a great way to kind of get your message out there and to explain to maybe a couple of people that don't know, build awareness. So I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah.
Figured maybe the best way we could do is if you want to like introduce yourself, because some people might know who you are, some people might be like, who is this chick?
Yeah.
So start from the beginning. Feel free to take as long as you want, and then we'll kind of delve into a little bit more about Barbells, the mission, what you kind of want to get from it, blah blah blah.
No, thank you, and thanks for asking me. It seemed like a really good chance for us to catch up and b kind of explain, because you're totally right. Barbells, which is now the Barbell Club, you're right, it's gone through like a complete change in the last year or so. So a little bit of my background, for starters, I've been doing CrossFit on and off for like 6-7 years now. I started over in New Zealand, and it's one of those things where I go through stages with it, where I'm kind of into it and I'm not, but it's always good fun. And for me, like, community and the people are a huge part of kind of what that means and why I do it. And then so I was basically, I lived overseas, and then came back to the UK to study and do my master's in sports marketing. So the idea behind that was I'd worked in sales as like a day job for many years, but wanted to actually work in the sports industry, because that's what I care about, that's what I'm interested in. And as part of my uni project, like the very first module, we had to do a startup idea. And I'd worked for a startup in Indonesia, and the biggest kind of problem that I found when I worked for that company was they tried to solve too many issues. They were like trying to, like, there was like 4 or 5 different things, and it got super confusing. When I was trying to sell it, nobody really understood. So I was basically looking for something that was a problem, and it was after a brunch with some girls from a different gym back from down home in Chichester, that we're talking about kind of problems that they have around like CrossFit, and the same old ones came up, like the whole see-through leggings, that type of stuff. But this was something that I get. So it's basically barbell bruises on the collarbone. So I put something together for a project for uni on that. And then I got some funding through uni to get that started. So I'm really lucky. Loughborough put together a kind of pitch. I had to go and present it, and they gave me a startup fund, so not a loan, just some money to go with, which I definitely wouldn't have been able, nothing would have come of this if they hadn't done that, because being a student in London, I was suddenly on a much tighter budget than I had been working full time. So that enabled me to kind of go through the design process and get something built, which I had no experience of doing. Like we said, I've worked in sales, but I've never designed a product before, so I really needed like other people's help for that. And I would say I launched it last year. I tried to do it on International Women's Day. I kind of started it, and it was because I was getting to the point where I was ready to go. And then, in all honesty, and this is what I think even this chat is about, I just lost complete, like, 2020 lockdown. I had no interest in it for a long time. Like, I got it to the point and I didn't have a product. I was struggling. I'd got it to the point where I kind of had the samples, but I couldn't find a manufacturer. I'd run out of money. And I was just kind of like, what do I do with it now? And became super unmotivated. Had to move out of London. I was in the process of buying a place. Took forever. I didn't have anywhere to live for a few months. And I was just like not in the right headspace. So basically put it all on hold. Didn't have nothing going on. And then yeah, sort of towards the end of this year, when I moved this year, who knows what month we're on, towards like, I'd say October, November last year, when I came back up to London, like, and again, I'd had to lose like Central, CrossFit Central London as a gym. I'd been in so many different communities, but through personal situations had to drop out of those, and I didn't have that group of people. But coming back up, and I'm part of a hockey club out here in East London, and that is the best group of women as well. Like, honestly, like they just, you get drunk and you don't realize that some of these people are like MDs of companies or school teachers. And I think that's kind of the joy of it, but it means there's such a varied group of people, and a few of them were kind of working on projects. A few other friends had some new stuff that they were launching, and it just kind of motivated me again, and I was in a much better headspace. And yeah, I did an end of year review, and that is where it kind of all shifted and changed for me. And it went from barbells as a product, which, yeah, the idea was basically a sports bra with padded collarbone protection to stop the bruising. But when I actually stopped and looked at like what my personal values were and what I want to do on a day-to-day basis, whether that's in like my full-time job or while I'm building this up, for me it was like equality in women's sport. It's always been a big thing for me. I did sports science as an undergrad. My dissertation for my master's was all about like sponsorship and unbundling of women's sports. So like, I don't know if you saw this week, the women's football have had like a £7 million investment from BBC and Sky Sports.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's like a huge deal, because obviously they've got more exposure. So there'll be like a weekly women's football match on TV, as in like terrestrial, and like people can actually watch. It's like 12:30 every Sunday, there'll be women's football. And then obviously Sky have taken it on, and that's where a lot of the money's come. So that brings so much more exposure and more opportunity for sponsors, etc., and for the women to make money. So it's just professionalized it even further than it has to kind of this point. So yeah, that's kind of what I realized when I actually looked at it. That's what I'm into. So that's where it shifted from being barbells as a product, and yes, that product was solving a problem, to being like, it is more of a community. And I guess that's where I'm trying to pick up on, where I'm not part of a gym at the minute. I'm not paying a gym membership in lockdown.
Anyone is right now, to be fair.
No, exactly. Like, and I'm looking forward to be able to go back and joining one. But I think that's also kind of part of why I set up the Barbell Club. I was like, there must be so many women and girls out there that are like me. Like, how many women do either CrossFit or weightlifting and give a shit about this kind of stuff, but there's no like space for them to talk about it or like have everyone together in one place. So yeah, that's where it's kind of gone with the Barbell Club. It's much less focused. Like, I'm still working on a sports bra, like that is kind of, I will like to launch that, but I don't want it to just be a sports bra company. I want it to be like more than that, like basically what people need and want to do with women's weightlifting or women's CrossFit. So yeah, that's my kind of summary of barbells and what it was and where it's gone to and where we're at now, really.
So many things.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, full-time job, new place. I can't sit still. That's one thing. I learned how to knit over Christmas. My housemate taught me, and she was like, you cannot sit still. Like, if I'm just sat watching a TV show, she'll just be chilled out and I'll feel like I need to be doing something. So she's like, I'm going to teach you how to knit. So
well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
If you don't mind, maybe let's like rewind to the very start of it. So you said like how, so I'm thinking like, especially for like, if there is any other women out there that are going to listen to this, hopefully lots of women will listen to this and be like, oh, like someone that is just like me doing something that we could never imagine doing, like where to start, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, would you kind of like walk us through like how you kind of came out? How did you find someone to design the concept for you? Did you draw it yourself? Like, how did you get that ball rolling? So like, if there's anyone else out there that was like wants to start something like in terms of clothing, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you're still, and because you're still doing the t-shirts, right? Like you're still.
Well, yeah. So I did one batch of t-shirts when I started to kind of rebrand it and stuff. But and a big thing as well with that was that I gave like 20% of that money to charity. So it was my very first CrossFit coach over in New Zealand. Has got terminal cancer, and a lot of her treatment isn't covered through the kind of medical system over there. So she's been fundraising for years, and like hundreds of thousands that she needs, and it's minimal what I could do, but like that was again something that was important to me, like personally, to be able to help people, and again like small organizations that I actually knew people from. So how did I get started? Like, that is a good question. The biggest kind of tip that I would say as to how I've then progressed is networking. Like, I've not been able to do this by myself. I am doing it by myself. It's just me. And that is really hard because you have to keep yourself accountable. And that's the hardest thing that I've found. Like, I literally have to write down each day what task I'm going to do related to barbells. Otherwise, it's so easy for me to...
Sorry about that.
All good. So yeah, I guess your question around how to get started, I said like one key thing is to be accountable. So writing down kind of key actions on what it is that I have to do each day. Otherwise, it's really easy to just not make any progress at all. I also had to learn not to be like a perfectionist because I wanted everything to be ready. And for ages, I was almost like waiting for a product before I started building like the group of people. And I was like, well, that's just silly because like I can get together a group of like-minded people first. But for ages, I was like, oh, I'm not going to have any content. Like, what am I going to post? But actually, it was just kind of looking at a few more bits that I could do to engage with people. But in terms of the product, yeah, I have had no experience of design whatsoever. I am not a creative person in the slightest. So I had a friend draw up like the first kind of mock-up for me, who was a designer who I knew from back over in Indonesia. And it was literally just hand drawn. And then I annotated it and did that. And then it was through the uni that they introduced me to kind of a website where it was like an expo of getting all different like materials and stuff. And it was a contact there that said, okay, you need to basically have a design house that does an end-to-end process, because I have no idea. She's like, some people can do the designs themselves, or they can hire a freelancer just to do one thing, like just build a tech pack, which is like all the designs with the sizes or like what material, that kind of thing. And I had no idea. So the key thing for me was getting somebody that could do that whole process for me rather than step by step, because then it was really difficult. So I was contacting a couple of different ones, and then I went for one in London because it meant I could actually kind of go and have a face-to-face meeting with them and try and describe it, which was quite important for me. Again, having no experience, like I was like, I don't want to be working with somebody that's over the other side of the world. I wanted to be able to go in and have a face-to-face conversation to describe what it was that I wanted to be able to kind of bring the vision to life. So yeah, then I very much handed it over to them. Hey, sorry, you want attention? I've got the treats here ready. Okay, there you go, lay down. Good boy. There we go. It's not going to work, I can tell. He's sat back up. I was hoping he was going to be napping after our trip to the park, to be honest, but nope, right on cue. So yeah, basically there was then 3 different versions of the design that we had to go through, because it didn't, like, it never quite went high enough to sit on the collarbone, and I'm like, well, that is like literally the key point of it. And then from that point, like I said, I've really struggled to be able to find like a manufacturer, and that's why I ended up kind of not doing anything for it on like 6 to 12 months as well. So for me, how I got through that bit, I was eating my hoodie, is, again, it was just through networking and talking to different people. So I'm actually part of, and this will be really useful to other people. Hey, there you go, eat it, get it. There's a LinkedIn group called the Women's Sport Collective.
Okay.
And it's run by somebody called Sue Anstis, who's like a big advocate for equality in women's sport. And they do networking calls every month. And I joined that in September, and I went on a couple of those calls, and then I met somebody on that. And it's the way they do it is great, because they have a few people to talk about their stories and stuff like that. But then they send everyone off into breakout rooms. So you'll meet like 4 or 5 different women and actually be able to talk to them. Come on. And I met a lady that set up her own sportswear. She used to work for Adidas, and then she set up her own sportswear company called Buddha Vida. And she helped me then like reach out to different like suppliers. And she basically said, she was like, I want you to learn from stuff that I didn't. So she had to buy, hey, stop trying to bite me. She said when she first got stuff made up, it was like minimum order requirements of like 1,000 pieces, and she's still selling those bits now, like 3-4 years on, and it's nearly put her out of business. And I was very conscious of the same, like trying to find somewhere that would do a minimum order requirement of like 100 has been near impossible. So I think I found a couple of places that I'm getting samples from at the minute that can do 200, which I think is doable. I think to sell 200 as a starting point, but yeah, she was like, no, definitely don't do that, because she's like, I'm still paying that off now effectively and can't sell those products. But yeah, again, it was just speaking to somebody that's had that experience. And again, in lockdown and stuff, like if you don't have that network, like I never would have met that person, I never would have spoken to these manufacturers, and I probably still would have been in the same situation that I was how many months ago. And it was just through like networking and talking to people that through all of this, that's basically how I've done it. Like I have no skills being able to do this myself. I can't design it. I have no contacts in the manufacturing world. I have no clue. And again, it was like, I think it was just before Christmas, I put something out on my social media being like, does anybody know of any like manufacturers? And I had about like 5 to 6 different people reply to me, like on my personal thing, like friends or friends of friends. And I'm like, all these people I've had in my network the whole time, and I just haven't asked. I've been too like proud to say, look, I'm struggling with this bit. Does anybody know somebody? And like, it might not lead to anything, but it's the fact that I asked and it opened that conversation, and then it has actually taken me somewhere with this. But if I'd never asked, if I'd just been like, oh no, I can do this by myself. Yeah, I just need to find a manufacturer. I would have spent hours on like Alibaba or Google and never been any closer to doing anything that's kind of worthwhile. So yeah, all about people, speaking to people.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of people that I have been like interviewing and speaking to, like they all say very much the same thing. They're like, if it wasn't for X, Y, and Z of people, like I would never be where I am today. And I was like, I think it's actually so humbling and actually so refreshing when people do actually shout out the people that have helped them, because like at least my perspective and like especially like on social media, right? And maybe like it's a tough one, especially like in the fitness industry. To me, it comes across like everyone's very much like, oh, I'm self-made.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, but we all know, like, especially like once you get into like, again, like this isn't everyone. I'm not like generalizing and saying everyone's like, but like to me it generally comes across like no one ever really takes time to just be like, you know what, I really want to shout out X, Y, and Z because like they really helped me get here. And I personally have always made a point of like I have a mentor in Canada, right, who took me on nearly 10 years ago now, and like I have so much respect for him and love for him and his family, and I always like shout him out, and I'm like, if it wasn't for you I wouldn't be here, and like all the people kind of along the way. And I think it's nice that like actually when you do speak to people like yourself or other people I've interviewed, like the first thing everyone does is like, oh, I want to thank so many people, because it is difficult, right? I think nowadays the beauty is that we do have like the internet to actually like, it's so much easier to reach out to people and be like, can somebody help me? And I think it's a shame when people don't like honor.
1 second.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm just opening the door. I can see he needs to go out.
But I think it is such a shame when like people don't honor that like that help, right? Because like you said, there's always been someone that's been there along the way to help. So
nobody does it alone, as much as they like to pretend that they do. Like everybody needs a little bit of help from somebody at some point.
For sure, definitely. Do you say that like obviously you have said like, oh, I have no skills to do any of this, like I don't, like is this, so what would be the goal in terms of like not having the skill to do it? You're obviously passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
So like would the dream be, what would like your overall vision for Barbells? Like I'm assuming you love it enough for hopefully for it to become like an income to live off, and that would be like the thing moving forward, or is it more of like a side hustle that you just want to like unite women?
the goal is, I think, is so varied, and like, and that's what I've opened my mind to more from it being a product. Like, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I think there is so much scope for it. Like, it could be like, again, like I've connected with like it's a gym over in Australia that's like the all women's like lifting gym, and obviously you've got stuff like that here in the UK as well. And I'm not saying that I'm suddenly going to become like a gym owner, or I'm not suddenly going to become like an apparel company, but again, like, or you could do like, again, like stuff like this, like podcasts, webinars. Like, we've got some really great people already part of it, like Zoe Pablo Smith, the weightlifter. Like, I speak to her about this kind of stuff, and I'm like, that would be interesting. Again, it's those conversations that maybe people don't have access to, which we could open up. Or like, obviously I love traveling as well, which I've not been able to do. This is like the longest I've been stuck in a country. And I think of like Bali and all like the nice little retreats. I'm like, Barbell's like weightlifting retreat over in Bali. Like, who wouldn't want to go and like throw weights around with a group of women on like an island? Like,
I would actually really love to interview Zoe. I was actually going to message her and see if she'd be interested.
I'll message her. Like, I think, yeah. So she used to live up in Loughborough, and so my friend Tammy, who plays cricket for England, they like shared a gym together in lockdown. So like, Tammy had the garage, so we had the weights. They like bubbled up and like were weightlifting in the garage out the back. So yeah,
love it, amazing. Yeah, no, I saw that she recently did that like the
Sports Direct Equal Play that came out yesterday. And again, like, so on her, like, I don't know if I should say this, but she won't mind, on her like close friends story on Instagram, like the amount of shit she's got back from guys already, like commenting on that piece, like being like, it's like threatening their masculinity. It's because they like that whole equal, it's not even pay, like, yeah, but the idea of having women at the same level as men, like, it just obviously blows their mind. Like, they can't deal with it. Like, they get so angry about it in like private messages to her, and she's like, this is crazy. She'd be really good to interview.
Well, feel free to if you speak to her next time, maybe like drop in.
She's got a lovely dog as well. So there you go.
Yeah, well, maybe you can help me hook that one up.
Of course.
Yeah. But no, it's kind of like, it's really interesting, because I feel like, would you also say that maybe like the last year of events, I mean, there has been in the last 6 months and in the last 2 weeks so much more like awareness about women, and just like,
yeah,
everything we go through that we don't get allowed, that we don't go through. There's almost like this kind of like, so strange, isn't it? Because like on some, like I'm reading a whole bunch of like feminist books as well, and hopefully I'm going to be interviewing a really famous feminist writer.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it's weird, because it's like, and I don't want to go down that route, and I don't want to be like one of those girls that is like in any way attacking men, because I have a lot of like amazing men in my life that are super supportive of the women in their life, of their female friends. So, you know, it would never be, again, it would be like a generalization of, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But like for me with Barbells, even when I saw your rebrand, I was like, I feel like women are finally, and you know what, this could also maybe be like, because you're like, you know, you're 30 now, aren't you, as well?
Nearly this year. I was hoping to go away for my 30th, but obviously it's not looking likely right now. But
but it's kind of strange. I feel like for women, it's almost like, as you start to get a bit older, you start to become more aware of the inequality, and you start to actually realize how important like your girl gang is.
Oh, massively.
Yeah. And it's a very strange concept, because it's also something that like on social media, like I find it strange to kind of to talk about, because like you said, like I don't, it's gonna sound, I don't want to, like, it's a weird thing to, even I feel even uncomfortable talking about it, but it's like men do feel threatened by it, and it's like I think more women now are finding a way to discuss it. Some are actually really quite attacking of men, which I do feel bad for them in a way, because I'm like, it's not every man.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be like distinguishable.
Yeah.
But it's such a shame, like then when like, you know, like you do stuff like Barbells, and like hopefully you've got absolutely no hate from it, and some of the posts you put up crack me up, and I was just like, power to you, my sister. Because actually it's true, like every woman thinks it, right? Every woman's lived through it.
yeah, we've all gone through it, but nobody talks about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so like one, like, and again, that's one thing I've learned, like looking at the content, like, and that surprised me that more people have connected to stuff that are personal stories to me. Like, obviously I'll put other stuff on and that's great, and everyone likes people like Zoe or Sarah like lifting heavy weights and throwing it around. It's great and it looks nice, but the stuff that people have connected and like opened up discussions with me about, it's been like just a picture of me when I like introduced myself, or when I shared, obviously, like when that guy slid into my DMs like unannounced, and you're just like, but how many people has that happened to? And again, to bring it back to your point in like what you said around like the kind of current events that have happened in the last month or so, and also just to note how quickly that's dropped off again, I would say, like, just as a point, like everyone, well, I say everyone was talking about it, and this is the thing, I don't think everyone was talking about it. Like, I had friends call me up and be like, this is really bugging me, I want to talk about this, and like just on like a random like Wednesday morning at 9 a.m, she's like, I can't work, and she's like, I need to vent, I need to get it out, because if I don't, I'm going to do it on a work call, and it's going to become that whole like crazy like feminist thing. And I'm like, well, that shouldn't be the case, but obviously, yes, you can talk to me about it. But were men talking about that stuff between themselves? Probably not. They weren't picking up the phone and talking about it. Like, but I agree in what you said in the fact it's not all men. And one of my friends was very much like of that thing. She's like, I don't agree with like everything that's on social media at the minute. It's like just like hounding all men. And I'm like, you've got to look at it. And the way that I tried to explain it was around like the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter last year. I'm like, it's not everyone, but you need to be able to understand that like it's not all men, but it's all women that have gone through it and they live through it. And that's the same with Black Lives Matter. Like, it's not everybody's a racist, but you don't understand the impact of like what they have to live through, like that is their conscious, like they have to think about that kind of stuff. Same as like, yeah, women, like, of course, like you would always think about like your route home or like stuff like that, which men never have to think about calling someone or sending their live location to make sure that a friend gets home after a night out, whereas that's just like standard behavior for us now.
You know, I won't lie, actually, I don't think I've ever thought about it ever in my life. And I don't, just because I was born and raised in London and I just feel like I know this just in the back of my hand. Yeah. Or the fact that like, I think most of the time people can't really tell if I'm a boy or a girl. And like, I think I've just always rocked around with this kind of like whatever demeanor and haven't really cared. But I mean, like, you know, the more actually I start reading all these like things, like these books and whatever, the more I actually start to realize the subconscious effort that I made from a very young age, to basically hide myself, which is a whole nother thing, and it's a whole nother deep like whatever. But I think what is great, and you know, like I said, like with Barbells, like I like that you, even without having a physical product, I think women as a whole, like in a way, we're our own worst enemies to a degree. But then like deep down inside, all we actually want is like sisterhood. Yeah. So when someone comes up and it's like, you know, I don't know if you saw recently, but like, obviously like I manage a gym and like I've been a coach. Actually in May, it will be my 9-year anniversary of being a coach, which is crazy because I'm not even that old. I'm like, how have I committed
to just experience
so long? But it's like, it's really strange because actually now, as I get older as well, I'm starting to notice so many things just in like the CrossFit world and the and the fitness world that no one talks about, right? So it's like, as a girl, obviously, like my female clients feel really comfortable talking to me about like whatever, right? And we know each other's vibes and like whatever. Yeah. But I put a thing on my social media that just basically said like, you should feel comfortable talking to your coach about when you're on your period. Yeah. Right? And I know for a fact that it made a handful of men really uncomfortable. But also so many girls of all ages and like some of my older PT clients, they were like, it's so true. And I was like, why? I feel like men don't understand what it feels like to feel suppressed talking about something that is so natural. Yeah. Right. So it's like then like Barbells comes along, right? Where like you put out that, what did you say that I just literally died over? It was something about like, oh, don't worry, I'll finish first or something.
Oh, I don't know.
It was some kind of sexual innuendo about about women basically being like, don't worry, like I'll come first. I was like, said every fucking woman ever. But it's like, it takes that one person to like say what every woman is thinking, right?
Yeah.
And I think especially like in sports, like I'm so like you can visibly see it in the last, like I would say 3 years probably, that like women are getting more respected in that industry. Like more men are actually openly being um like showing pure envy of like, you know, an athlete's strength, which is great, right? Because I feel like like most of the time it was like, and you know, like CrossFit's a weird one too, because again, the older I get, the more I look at it, the more I realize that in ways these women, you know, they're obviously absolute fucking weapons. They're like the muscular, whatever. But like in a way, the way that like CrossFit also like clothed them, right, was kind of like sexualizing these women to the point where it's like they might look really masculine because they're quite muscular.
Yeah.
But I put them in a sports bra and short shorts.
It's still like hyper sexualized.
Like a new sexuality of like the athletic woman.
Yeah.
So actually, it's like it's such a weird head fuck when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Because actually, in some way or another, women are still being put into this like you need to look sexy when you're doing it.
Yeah, it's still like objectifying. It's the same if you look at like volleyball as a sport in terms of like what they make them wear, and it's like they literally measure like the side like of their bikini bottoms, like it can't be beyond like 2 inches or something, and like that's actual like rules. And I think at the minute there's a volleyball championships going on in Qatar, and they're just not having the women's competition because obviously it's too revealing. So there's the other side of it as well. So yeah, there's so much. It's such a we could talk about this forever.
Oh yeah, I know kind of. But I think that's again like that's something but again I feel like that's something I wanted to talk to a bunch of women about, and then obviously put that on my onto my socials.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't feel, and I do, and I'll openly admit it, like I do feel nervous because I have quite a high like male following. Like when you look at your stats, like I have more men following me because I guess like I'm now a bit like whatever, like I don't really care, and I'm not prancing around like semi-naked because like I just don't feel the need to.
Yeah.
But you know, and like obviously in your mind there is that part of you that's like, well, if I start actually speaking up for like other women, am I going to suddenly lose people's interest, right? Which is like stupid to think about it because I'm like, that's so ridiculous. Why do you give a fuck? And I was like, actually, I don't, because I want the girl gang. Like I like at school when you're younger, right? Like you kind of like end up like just being dicks to each other. But as you get older, you realize the importance and you actually see like actually, you know, I can be as strong as the boys. I can lift with the boys. And you'll remember even when I coach, right? I always used to partner up boys and girls. And I was like, it doesn't matter if one of you's stronger. I'm like, God gave you hands, just take the fucking weight off or put it on. Like, don't be a dick about it, right? Like, I don't need a 15 kilo bar to back squat and you don't need a 20 kilo bar to back squat. We can change it out.
Yeah.
But like, stop having this like, oh, but you know, you have a vagina, you have a penis. It's like, yeah, we're still humans. It should still be equal.
And that's again, that links me on to something else when you're saying a vagina or a penis. And then for me, I think everything's on like a sliding scale, like in terms of like gender and sexuality. And I think it's again a massive like it's a stereotype, or it's social. We've been socialized to think of like a male and a female and what's masculine and what's feminine, when really all of that is complete bullshit. Like everybody is an individual person and it's like fluid. It should be like lots of little cups in between, and like you could be like somewhere on the scale. Like why is it one or the other?
Yeah, so no, I think I really do appreciate. That's why I wanted to talk about like barbells and like see where you're kind of going with it, like what the overall kind of goal and concept was, because you know I think like with your imagery and stuff it is quite feminine because obviously it's like pinks and oranges and like but again I feel like women are also very quite like we're open to like anyone joining in, right? Like as far as we're like, the color
it's mainly women, it is, but then I do still get men that follow and that message, and like I did like a little piece on like male allies, and that's so important as well because obviously women can't do it alone. It's going to take men being conscious about it and like giving a shit about it to change it. But yeah, you're right, like when I did the rebrand, like before it was just black and white and it was quite like I felt like boring, and I was like that's not really me. I like as a kid I had like orange, and now I've done it as an adult as well, bright orange, orange and green like bedroom, and then swapped to being like pink, like hot pink, and everyone was like, oh, you're going to regret that. And I was like, no, I don't think I am. Like it's almost because I get conditioned, like I've been a tomboy like my whole life, been sport. It's always been like I'm the only girl at work. I was the only girl when I did like sports science or like A-level PE, whatever. Like I'm just used to being me and the guys, as you pretty much would be as well. And like, yeah, you almost get like, that's why I think I then like pink so much more, because I'm like, yeah, it's like, fuck you, I can be a tomboy and like pink at the same time. Like it's like my little rebellion.
When I rock up to work with like my glitter folder, and I'm like, I can be an excellent manager and have everything covered in glitter. I was like, that literally doesn't change a thing. I was like, it's really nice for me to look at. So moving forward, like, so with Barbells, what's the kind of, is there a plan for like 20, what year are we in now? 2021? Who knows?
I would like to launch the sports bra. So like, it's the Barbell Club. That's what it's going to be known as moving forward, but the product will be called the Barbell. That I would like to get launched this year. So like I said, I'm speaking to a couple of manufacturers at the minute. They should be doing samples. So I should get them in the next, hopefully like a couple of weeks or so, which I'll then make a decision about who I'll go with. And it'll be 200 units to begin with, and just roll with it and see. Like, I mean, normally I do in my day job, it's like sales, but it's all like face-to-face selling, or not face-to-face anymore, but like virtual, but it's not like digital and like marketing it out on social media. So that's another thing that I'm going to have to learn. And again, I've got some people from my lovely hockey club, the like girl gang, that do that as like a day job. So I'm like, well, as soon as I've got my product, I know who I'm going to speak to about like doing my social media advertising and actually paying for that. Because at the minute, this has all been like organic and just trying to like create the group of people that I want to kind of connect with. And then moving forward, I think I'll probably stick with like just that to begin with, maybe some t-shirts again, like with the new logos and stuff like that. And then for me, it's going to be talking to my audience to actually find out about what they want. Like, do they actually want a pair of leggings that like not see through when they squat, or do they want a weightlifting belt or grips or stuff like that? Like, is there, again, I don't know, like, is there like a place where women go to buy weightlifting stuff or CrossFit stuff, like exclusively for women? Probably not. Does there need to be? I don't know, because then this is a whole nother conversation, like about bikes, and like obviously women, like you get sold down this, like you need a women's specific bike. And I've got a friend that does triathlon and at quite a high level, and she's like, absolutely not. And she asked her audience, and she's like, it doesn't need to be a women's specific bike. So she's like trying to debunk it the other way by like taking out the gender like advertising in like the bike kind of market, because she's like, it doesn't need to be gender specific. Why are people like separating it out when it doesn't need to be?
You know what, can I interrupt really quickly about the bike thing? So I recently bought a bike and I went for the men's bike, purely because as like a fuck you standpoint, because I was like, I don't want a women's bike. So generally like women's commuter bikes have that dip, right? And I was actually talking to someone that's like a cyclist, and I was like, I don't understand. I was like, well, I don't need that fucking dip for. I was like, also, why am I going to go for a women's bike? The wheels are smaller, so I'm going to go slower. I was like, so I got a men's bike because I want to go faster, because that's why I got a bike, like to commute, right? I don't need to like take my time. And he's like, oh yeah, but that dip in the bike was basically designed for like when you wear a skirt.
So you can get your leg over, isn't it?
And I was like, how fucking archaic is that?
That's literally like
cycling from the market home with your fresh fruit and veg and your little bonnet on. You can just pop on like merry fucking. I'm like, literally, I never knew that. And when I found that out, I was just like, okay, like, I was like, because every woman obviously like wears a skirt and like feels the need to like, it just. I was like, fine.
And again, that girl, my friend so she's qualified twice for the worlds for the 70.3, so the half Ironmans, but she's not been able to compete because it's supposed to be in New Zealand and then it's been cancelled and pushed back. So she's just training and doing her own thing, but she's just quit her job of however many years, like got rid of her long-term boyfriend and house, and has quit and like just started up her own like bike fit business and is really like focusing on that and the triathlon. And I'm like, yes. Like some of the other people are like, is she having a midlife crisis? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, just like support it, like go with it. Like worst case, she gets the job back in like however many years. She's worked for like Severn Trent Water for however many years. They'll take her back. She knows what she's doing. She's pretty switched on. But like, then she's got no regrets. She can go and do this for like 2-3 years, 5 years. If it doesn't work, then so what? You can go back to something else. But at least she tried. Otherwise, you'll be sat there thinking, well, I didn't give it a go. I wonder what if. So
100%. And you know, also I think that like, and it's just, I just keep thinking about what you're saying about like all the hate that Zoe got for putting that video up, right? And like, I know of someone that actively deleted their social media account because they said that they felt like women were attacking men too much when Sarah got murdered, right? And I was like, okay, that actually says more about you as a person than anything else. I was like, because I was like, interestingly, I was like, you know, when Black Lives Matter was happening, you had no problem having an opinion, but all of a sudden women are speaking up and being like, you know what, actually, it's not easy for us, and we're saying it out loud because actually maybe we do need help, right? Like, we need you to help us, and all of a sudden it's like women are attacking men. And so I think now, obviously, like in the world, there's so many companies that are aimed at directly at women, right?
yeah.
But would you agree in saying that, like, I think women now are actually looking for more genuine companies?
Yeah.
Like, they're looking for people that just treat them like an equal rather than being like, I'm trying to sell you like these bum sculpting, blah, 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 whatever, and being like, I'm with you. Like, I'm the person next to you in the gym, in the supermarket, you know, that is.
It's being authentic, like, and this is what I've learned from my day job. So it's not recruitment that I do, but it's kind of like everything to do with people in the sports industry. So like we'll do consulting on like diversity inclusion, on people's recruitment processes, for like big companies like FIFA, UEFA, the FA, stuff like that. And like the key thing that's come out in the last year, I would say, is like purpose-driven organizations, and that's what people give a shit about. Like people want to work for somebody that has the same values as them. They don't just want to work. Like we did a survey, and so few people now care about like travel or what your job title is or your salary. Like obviously they're important, but like the stuff that came out at the top, it was like having like matched values, being able to make a difference, and like again, like there's a W series, so that's just women's motor racing. So like just women, single-seater car racing, and like the goal of that is to get more women into the F1. But then again, you get the men that are complaining. They're like, well, this is like sexist. It's women's only racing. Like the F1 isn't men's only. There's been one woman I think that's raced in F1, and it was about how many years ago. And yeah, like the goal of this, it's like, yeah, you need to be positively biased towards women to give them the exposure for single-seater car racing to then be able to build themselves up to it. And I think now it's been like validated, so they can earn points, which in that series, which is women only series, but it will help them qualify for getting a seat in the F1. So like that's their goal, like that they almost want to become redundant. Same with there's an organization called Women in Football. And she was like, I would love to not have my organization. She's like, we have to do this. Well, to try and get like equal footing now. But she's like, I'd love for my job role to be redundant and not have to do it. So
amazing. Well, Verity, I just want to, so really quickly, I guess, like for anyone listening, just tell them like all your social media platforms, your website, like I'll put like a little like credits thing at the end, and then I'll also put that in the little description box in the bottom. But just anything that draws people towards you and Barbell, like go for it, sell yourself.
It's literally, I would say, the Barbell Club, and on Instagram to begin with. Haven't launched the website properly yet, getting new one rebuilt with new stuff, and we'll probably launch it when I've got the product ready. So yeah, best way really is Instagram for now, and the Barbell Club.
Perfect. Well, listen, I look really forward to like seeing the new bra when it comes out. Obviously, like any help you need with that, just shout.
Yes, please.
I think if there's anything that I've learned, it doesn't matter if someone has like 10 followers or like thousands. The point is like if you make a difference to that one person, it goes a really long way. So
it's all about quality, not quantity. That's the thing. Like you'll see people with like how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands followers, but don't actually connect with them. And I'm yeah, there's no point in that.
Yeah. So any like rough timeline on like when you think you'll have a bra or like a product to sell, or it's still just like wait
until I get this sample and decide which manufacturer I'm going with. Once I've got that, then I can like come up with a timeline. It would be nice to do it for August. That's my 30th. That'd be a nice little present to myself, wouldn't it? I was going to get a dog for my 30th. That was like going to be my present to myself, but Sven came along early and I couldn't say no to that face. So
I understand that feeling, trust me.
I was like, oh my god. I just texted to see, because I was like, dogs are so wanted at the minute. I was like, I'll see if I can get on a list, get one towards like my birthday in the middle of the year. And she replied with a picture of like a 4-week-old puppy, and I was have to have him.
Literally, you can't say no.
Absolutely not.
You can't. Like, you see this thing and you're just like, I didn't even know something as cute as you existed. Like, you need to be in my life forever. Yeah. Exactly how I got mine. I was just like, I'm just gonna go look at what the litter looks like. And then I saw him and I was like, what is this? I was like, what is this small snowball of fur? Like, just looking at me with these pink eyes. And I was like, of course you need to come home with me right this second.
Yeah, that was very much it. Obviously it was all digital to begin with, but I still had that same feeling. I was like, no, you're mine. I was like, I can't let anyone else have you, sorry. Stuck with me.
Well, Verity, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
I learned a lot from chatting to you, so it's nice, and hopefully like someone else will listen who might be in a similar position and understand that it seems really difficult, but actually if you just persevere and put it out there, people can help you.
Yeah, you just have to keep going, like, and not wait for it to be perfect. Keep doing, like, it's like that Atomic Habits book. You just have to keep going, and you'll get there in the end. And also talk to people. Don't be afraid to do that. So yeah, same with this. I guess if anybody wants to message me, I'll always be there to listen and help and advise. And if it's not me, but put them in contact with maybe someone that can. So yeah.
Oh. Well, Verity, thank you so much, and hopefully I will get to see you soon IRL.
Yeah, definitely. And Sven, we'll bring him along. So yeah.
All right, listen, have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you again so much, and I will see you soon.
See you soon. Thanks, Theo.
Bye.
Bye.